Alright, I feel like I've been editing this for way too long. It's going to be very hard for me to confess this, but I want you to bear with me for a second. I actually like Sprunki. Yeah, I've always been a fan of this game, even after what happened to it on the internet. In fact, I've been thinking of making some videos rather than guaranteed for the past few months. I just couldn't find a way to actually make them in the first place. Anyways, it's been 4 years since Sprunki was made, so I thought it would be appropriate for me to finally talk about the game in its current state and see if it has gotten better since. I mean, it sounds like the cartel farms around Sprunki would slaughter on mass producing videos, so it most likely hasn't. But we can't all just be pessimists over everything on the internet. Now, before we talk about how Sprunki is doing 1 year later, we first need to explain for those who somehow don't know what this game is. This section will summarize everything you need to know about the game itself and the consequences of its creation. Feel free to skip this part if you don't need a refresher. Anyways, Sprunki is a fan-made version of a much older game called Incredibox. The premise of this game is to drag and drop different icons into characters in order to make them sing a beatbox, which in turn allows you to make mixes. Incredibox has, as of 2025, 9 official versions. However, the Incredibox community has published a whole array of different fan-made versions called Incredibox mods or Incredimods, mainly due to websites like Scratch, and this is where Sprunki comes in. This Incredimod was made by a game dev named Nyanko BFLOL, Nyanko for short, where instead of these human beings, you have to scoot a colorful character that makes this cute and happy-go-lucky tune. This mod, however, has one extra major twist. The moment you play the last instrument of the mod, everything completely takes a turn for the worst. It now has a much darker tone, and everyone is seen as either dead, injured, or twisted in some way. The feel of the music changes too. It's a lot more intense and frightening. So essentially, Sprunki uses the fake outdoor trope that we all have seen before back in the year of the scary maze game. However, I gotta praise Nyanko for putting so much effort into this project, especially considering that it was 15 years old when he made it. Plus that the advantage of being an Incredible, so the fake art isn't for nothing. They may have died, but that won't stop you from making your masterpiece. However, the game absolutely blew up in popularity. So much so that it somehow managed to be more popular than Incredibox itself. And of course, bright and joyful characters plus horror equals Sprunki content farms. By the way, there's a war argument for most people that are familiar with Sprunki over cover game mascot horror due to the factors that I mentioned earlier. I mean, I don't agree with them, but that's going to be for another video. In any case, I feel so bad for Nyanko because of it received afterwards. He even got doxed at one point over this game, which was one of the reasons of a very justified cancellation of Sprunki updates he planned. The YouTuber God Cafe has made a great video about that, so if you want to check it out, I'll link it in the description. But if you would tell me how much you hate Sprunki, I can't blame you. This game has led to the creation of the worst counted farms on YouTube. The Elsa Gate effect was on full capacity a few months after the game exploded. You could even search on Sprunki on YouTube without stumbling on a sexual video because of how many of the channels are there uploading this degenerate content. And we just have to take a look at one of the channels to see how bad it is. PKR Show is a channel that you might have heard of before. And for good reason too. Their content consists of making those absolutely disgusting animations featuring the Sprunki cast. This shit legit contains every single kind of fetish you could think of, like I'm actually flabbergasted that it hasn't been terminated yet. I don't even want to show the actual videos. And it's not the only channel that does stuff like this, unfortunately. Now it might seem ironic that it's coming from someone that posted these plotagon videos where the characters are also in sexual scenario from what they imply in their dialogues. Let me get this straight, I don't intend to promote these videos to kids on like PKR Show and all the other channels. Unfortunately, I can't stop kids from watching my videos unless I age restrict them. But I can somewhat control the audience I want with the video thumbnails. And the most clickbait one are not even close to a Gomidora thumbnail. Anyways, I would love to say that it's getting better nowadays. But the current state of Sprunki is kinda mixed, I believe. Because on one hand, we got some really great fan-made mods of Sprunki, but on the other hand, it's basically fetish content farm channels. It's safe to say that Sprunki's popularity was definitely not a blessing if you are Sprunki fan these past months. Joining this fanbase basically meant that you are exposing your works to these content farms because they would absolutely take it for themselves. Like in the good old days, we used to have the original cast of Sprunki's those animations and stuff, but now they are doing this shit with multiple Sprunki OCs. Microwave Lily, which was a Sprunki OC made by K of the K, was one of the many victims of this. Later on, they also used the cast of extra characters for the Sprunki retake and the Sprunki Pyramix Incredibles. There was just no way to escape for them because of how overly popular Sprunki has gotten these past months. And Cookie Cartoons is one of the biggest offenders here. It's a small channel with only a bit more than 40,000 subscribers, but the owner, or I guess owners, it could be more than one person behind the channel, dedicated themselves to profit over storing content. All of our videos are just slideshows of Sprunki fan art that aren't even credited anywhere. Like there's nothing in the description, nothing in the actual videos. The only instance that what is credited is when they are not able to remove the watermarks. I actually think it's worse than channels like Gomidora, because with Gomidora, at least they only use the characters for their animations, even if they don't have the right to use them. You can't defend the shit that Cookie Cartoon is doing. And don't even get me started on their clickbait effects. These titles just speak for themselves, they know exactly what they are doing here. If you want proof of their theft, let me just play a few seconds of this trash for your pleasure.
Yeah, this is my girlfriend Wanda.
And this is Gray, my very enthusiastic boyfriend. You love me, don't you? Don't you love me?
Stop pulling on my ears.
What is up with this voiceover? I know that was nothing that's inherently wrong with the drugs for the first few seconds. It's just cheaper with Gray and Wanda. But the way they dubbed this was so uncomfortable, man.
Jevin, my head hurts. Jeff, do you think you could stay a little bit? At least until my headache goes away.
Sure, Turner. I'll stay for you as long as you need.
Thanks, buddy.
This is something that this channel often does with characters of the same gender that are part of a ship, or when they put two characters of the same gender themselves in a relationship, they would switch the gender of one of them so that they become a female instead of a male. This channel definitively puts a lot of effort into dunking on the Sprunki fanbase, I'll give it that. By the way, aside from signatures and watermarks, you can easily tell that this video is a compilation of story artwork because the art style completely changes sometimes. For instance, this is what the last few ones looks like.
What do Gray and Wanda think about each other? Well, Gray is my one and only, so you can imagine I'm quite fond of him.
He's my alright.
This just shows that Cookie Cartoon is such a great content creator. However, I think it's safe to say that the fact that a half time was Sprunki fan content picked on the internet. And I feel like it's something that I don't really see that brought up within the commentary channels that covered Sprunki content farms. Those content farms are already bad on their own, but when you are showing a Yujia appreciation to the I don't really want to say franchise, but I can't think of a better word. When you are showing a Yujia appreciation to stuff like Sprunki, and they are using it to give a system, yeah, I don't know how to describe it, it's like so much worse. Now I don't want to make this video completely in the negative, like we had to go for a lot, but I want to point out some of the positives we received from Sprunki. Like I said before, there are dozens of great remakes and reimaginings of the single game. I have included a playlist of a variety of Sprunki mod mixes in the description where you can check out to try them yourselves. In fact, if it wasn't for Sprunki getting popular, I wouldn't even be able to remember in credit box or discover how truly big the modding scene is. So in the end, I'm so glad I discovered Sprunki. I hope that you liked this recap of everything that happened with Sprunki so far. I really wanted to express my own observation with this game and this content farm as a Sprunki fan myself. I tried my best to stand up for the other videos about this subject. I had some more Sprunki related stuff that I want to make one day. So stay tuned when that happens and I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.